If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a very special guest.
Jenna Manning.
welcome.
God.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm excited to talk to you, to just like to hear about the journey. You're amazing. You're like a strong woman, just doing the things out here in the world, spreading joy and the things that you do with the world. And I love seeing it. And lately I've been on like this kick of like women, like just bosses. Like I just love this. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Meosha. No, me too. I'm so grateful to be here. And yeah, I want to kind of keep that conversation going about the power right now of women and community. Community really is, I think, one of the most important things right now, more than ever before. And especially in my world, in film and self-development, community is really what keeps people moving forward, I feel.
Yes, 1000%, 1000%. I love going back to the beginning. I always say at the beginning, charts our trajectory in life, our little habits that we pick up along the way follow us into our adulthood. So I'm curious about what was your childhood like? What were you like when you were a child? And kind of did you always kind of have a passion for people, and or where did that develop? When did that come in?
Gosh, absolutely. I mean, my family are my world. I was very fortunate that I was kind of raised on love. I have two younger sisters. I spend a lot of time with my family. I'm actually with them now in the
Aw.
northwest of England. Yeah, I mean, reflecting back, I loved people as a kid. I was very shy though. I was innately shy. And I think paradoxically, that's still very much within me. It's the self-development that's allowed me to kind of break out of that shyness.
Yeah.
But at the same time of having that shyness, I really kind of was always drawn to the arts. So I would drive my parents and younger sisters mad with having them record me, recite lines from movies, like over and over and over again. It's quite cringe to think back, but we have a home video of me at in Epcot Center in Florida,
Nice.
where I was like 12 and reciting lines from like Jurassic Park and all these different, yeah. I mean, so I guess I was very much wanting to be in the limelight as a child, but at the same time always had this innate kind of need to guide others, which has followed me throughout my whole life for sure, which has kind of led to what I'm doing now. But my childhood was fun, not perfect, but it was fun. My parents humored me and I wanted to ice skate, so I did ice skating, and then I wanted a horse ride, so I did that for a little bit, and then I did drama club, which was the one that really, grabbed me. But it's when I trained as an actor many moons ago, we deep dived into archetypes, Carl Jungian archetypes, which is a huge part of my work with actors and women. And I learned so much about myself and my childhood just by doing a deep dive for a year.
Wow.
Because as a kid, I thought I was a weirdo because I had all these different kinds of friends. I'm the
Yeah.
same now, like so many different characters that
Yeah.
they just could never in the same room together. But I was always myself though. So I guess different facets of myself. And deep diving into the archetypes, I discovered that I had the shapeshifter archetype, which most actors do. And discovering that back then was like so empowering. I'm like, oh wow, I'm not strange. This is actually a thing, and it's actually, in a sense, could be perceived as a gift because I get to kind of, it makes me adaptable. And that really helps me in my work, especially one-to-ones, because I feel like I have this way of being able to see through their lens and shapeshift into what they need from me, um, especially in the film industry, I guess. So yeah, big part that just popped up about how that was a huge discovery for myself, and it allowed me to really grow in confidence
Yeah, I'm
back
sure
then.
that did
Yeah,
bring the confidence, right? Because you're shy. So I can imagine like you were just definitely stepping out of your shell through that. And
yeah.
look at you now. I would have never thought. No, that's really,
Yeah,
I was kind of shy growing up for sure. But I think I don't know, I think around definitely what just getting into the entertainment world, just exercising my muscles definitely opened me up to like being less shy. I was bullied, so I didn't think that I was, I was like, oh no, but I'm not that person anymore. So it's amazing when you do that work, like who you become on the other side of that is like, whoa.
absolutely. And I think it's through my own journey and through doing my own inner child work, shadow work. And I've kind of been on the self-development journey for, I would say, approximately 18 years on and
Wow.
off. Back in '07, I discovered the extraordinary Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's been my go-to mentor ever since, God rest his soul. And that kind of then started me on the spiritual journey and the journey home to myself. And it's been, bumpy at times, but by doing the work myself and seeing myself transmute so much and alchemize so much has allowed me to really build in confidence when I work with actors, with my women clients, and remain an eternal student, I think, on this journey. I think that's I've seen so many people in the kind of, well, film sphere and entrepreneurial world where we're all just winging it and not doing the work, but it's really about falling in love with the unknown, I think. This is a conversation that is coming up a lot with clients. It's like, I don't know what's next. I'm
Mm,
I'm seeking clarity, and I think we're in a crazy collective shift right now more than ever where people are stepping into who they are if they're in
yeah.
alignment. And in order to do that, anything that doesn't represent their most authentic version has to fall away, whether that's
Yes.
people, places, thoughts, behaviors. And that's why I said earlier, community right now, and finding the people that you feel seen by and that
Yeah.
inspire you to up level is absolutely imperative, I find. Um, so yeah, I love sharing my journey with the people that I work with because it comes from a place of truth and love and vulnerability. And I really do believe vulnerability is the secret sauce with everything.
I love that. Absolutely. You spoke about the golden frequency method, and I think that's a really cool title. Like just, I'm like, can you explain what the method is and how it helps people kind of elevate their performance or just in life?
Sure. Well, so yeah, the golden frequency is something I've kind of discovered in recent years. It's my signature program with actors and entrepreneurs, and it's really about tuning in to the highest vibration of who you are. And the
Mm,
science, there's, I could deep dive into the science, which would take forever, but it's really about, people say they want to step into a new version of themselves, of
yes.
course, but actually it's kind of the opposite of that in the sense it feels new, but it's about peeling back the layers to your core essence, to
Mm,
the you that you know is there, your pure potential. And it's allowing yourself to vibrate at a frequency of the most magnetic, authentic, confident version of yourself. And there are tools and modalities to do that from so many, from implementing non-negotiables into your day, however small they may be, and being consistent with that, which is where we struggle. The real change takes place with you. And the golden frequency is basically a journey home to yourself.
oh, I love that.
Um, it's a journey, and I kind of, with my clients, I take them on that journey and hold space for that. But also, we keep it real, as in it's easy to say, oh, so do A, B, C, and D, do the
Yeah.
meditation, the
Hmm.
breath work, whatever works for you. Because I think the priority is not being consumed by implementing this into your life, because then it has the opposite effect and becomes a hindrance. It's about doing the things that you know are going to push you forward to your most, stepping fully into your potential, basically, and breaking through that fear and unlocking your potential. Because I really do believe it's your birthright to illuminate your gifts with the world, whatever they may be. And as you know, I work in two worlds, film and self-development, and fuse those together. The golden frequency allows you to, from the moment you wake up, to vibrate at the frequency of your future self.
Ooh, I love that.
And by using so many tools along the way, which takes time. It's a rewiring of the brain. It's a rewiring of your whole essence. And at the moment, I'm developing an actual frequency, a meditation frequency for both
Ooh,
creatives and entrepreneurs,
nice.
as part of the process, which is super exciting. But I think having the vision of what that looks like is really important. And it's a deep knowingness of self and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I call it the golden target. So for instance, if we apply that to actors, they can feel into what they really truly want. And that comes back to knowing your why.
Yeah.
And you know, the why is everything. And this is for every aspect of life, but to apply it to my work, if you don't know your why, you're in dangerous territory. And I talk about this because it all comes back to the golden frequency. It's like, well, why? Why are
Mm,
you an actor? Why are you choosing to be an entrepreneur within this field? If you're okay with your why and it's a really strong why, you're good.
yeah.
Dissect that why. Why is that your why? And why? And you have to be vulnerable with yourself. But when you do that, you'll surprise yourself, I think, if you haven't done the work already. And that
Yeah.
why is your driving force. That's part of that golden target. Whatever that may be, as an actor, it could be you want to work in a certain genre or with a certain director, or you just want to be on stage. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter as long as it's your golden target. And that keeps you going. And then I apply these tools so you're vibrating on the frequency of that version of yourself. But here's the thing. It's called the paradox of intention. So you
Mm,
have that golden target in place,
mhm.
but then you detach and you surrender, and then you surrender some more. And don't try and control that surrender, which is part of my journey, because you have no idea what's going to gravitate towards you, which ultimately might shift that target. But as
Mm,
long as you're in this vibration, this golden, and if you fall off, it's how quickly you get back. That's what's so it's okay to fall off. That's normal. That's life. How quickly you get back
I love
to
that.
do that frequency and keep moving forward.
Now, my
Yes.
question, that's beautiful. And I mean, I'm just like, yes. Um, so with certain actors who've like we can go to, I mean, like a Timothy, the Chalamet, the or Zendaya, or I don't know, just people that are just got to that level in the acting world. Do you
Yes.
think they've kind of went through that to find their golden frequency to kind of vibrate at that level? Because, right, not everyone gets to that level. I mean, it is a level to get to.
I
So,
think it's a mindset. I think the golden frequency is kind of a mindset as well. And to me, the two ingredients to succeed in that world,
yeah,
alongside honing the craft and having the talent, of course,
sure.
is business acumen and mindset.
Mm,
Mindset being number one. And I think there's definitely an element of luck. We know this. And I think luck comes back to alignment and
yes.
purpose and so many other, I'm very geared towards the cosmos and the spiritual realm, and that's a huge part of my journey. But I think it's being your true self. And I love that you've asked that question, because I use this analogy with my actors on my mentorship. I say, the Wonderful Actors Roundtable, which is incredible. It's like being a fly on the wall to the creme de la creme.
Yes.
Say, if I open that door, are you ready to sit at that table and talk with Zendaya and
Mm.
Timothy? And it's not, because I've worked with seasoned actors and they're constantly rediscovering themselves. That's the key. They're eternal students. But with people who are kind of new, it's not about, oh, are you ready to sit at that table because you have awards under your belt or you have
Yeah.
about being in your truth, in your power with humility and grace, but knowing thyself. Because when you look at that round table, you know that Florence Pugh is Florence Pugh. You know that
Yeah.
Viola Davis is Viola Davis. They're not looking to emulate another. They may chameleonize. They may, shapeshift into different, but they're them. And that comes to you
Love that.
back to your secret source, your essence, your
Mm.
flavor. And so with Zendaya and Timothy, I mean, they have that light as well. They're magnetic in their work, and that aura is sometimes you're born with it, as they say, but I actually do believe that that can be created because, as they say, charisma can now be created. It comes
Interesting.
back doing the work. So,
Yeah. That's
yes,
beautiful. Yeah, because you're like it's such a thing because like I never question. I think when you're aligned, you never question like I mean, yeah, it can kind of change like nuances like it, but you're still in your purpose. Like you
yeah,
might not do you're still in the creative sphere, but I did acting and then that turned into other things and being behind the camera and then other things that but it's still creative but I just knew like for me like people would say why aren't you making a movie right now and I just was like I'm not it's not speaking to me to make one. I just didn't feel like that was the thing at that moment. Like I'm kind of a person that's I have to be I have to feel it and know this is the time to do something, like a timing thing. Like it'll, and I think that that God particle, which I think we have to listen to more, will
yeah.
tell us, you know, where to go.
I think so. Again, it comes back to doing the work because sometimes people seek validation from others, from the
Mm.
world, from their parents, from their peers, and it's really about validating yourself. And like just what you said, and you're extraordinary.
Oh,
And no, and I think it's
thank you.
when it feeds your soul, and it comes back to intuition, and that's your compass, that's your guide, and yes, as long as you're surrounding yourself with your people, community. I think with actors and entrepreneurs, it's the
Yeah,
same. It's surround yourself with other artists, with other
yeah.
entrepreneurs. If you're the smartest at the table, you're in the wrong room, as they say. You need to constantly feel seen. Well,
Mm.
seen as much as you can.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's really important to see yourself and to feel inspired, to feel challenged, and that keeps you going. But like you said, when you're in alignment because your soul knows. It feels off when it's out of alignment. And I think it's about making sure that you're not doing yourself a disservice by doing the things that don't feed your soul. Especially
Mm.
in the artistic realm, as in sometimes we do sacrifice things, of course, but I think it's important to stay within your integrity, to have that vision strong. And, the old saying goes, but enjoy the journey. If you're attached to the outcomes, to the goal, to the accolade, again, dangerous territory. If I say to my clients, if you're enjoying going to the theatre and watching the play and writing the short film and receiving the feedback from the audition that you didn't get, if you're enjoying those pieces, you're good. If you're
Yeah.
not, you're just kind of, okay, I'm going to arrive at that destination. You're on the wrong path because
Mm.
I think it was Matt Damon that said that and when he looks back, he's so grateful that he won the Oscar so young. I mean, he's Matt Damon. He can say that he's incredible. But his point was he realized it didn't fill a hole and it wasn't the be all and end all. And of course, accolades and acknowledgement is incredible for your work.
Sure.
The journey, it's such a cliche, but it's so true. The journey is everything. Enjoying each and every day and falling in love with the unknown and
Yeah.
leaping the unknown. Um,
I love that.
yeah, and decluttering. the noise that, it's like that 10 times vision approach, which is kind of my golden frequency, is like anything that doesn't represent that, you
Mm,
need to declutter. And that can be brutal and painful,
I'm
but it
sure.
comes back to self-love and
So a
pouring
lot of
into.
people don't really love themselves.
I'm an optimist to the extreme, but I feel from my experience, I think it's a rarity,
Yeah.
which is sad because it's actually everything. It's love is the key, but self-love is actually the beginning of that, because by giving from the overspill, by pouring into yourself and doing that work, it it inevitably translates into everything around you, your family, your children, your work, your acting, your business, your health. So self-love is a huge part of my work with everybody. And as you know, I represent actors at my agency for film and TV. And it's the same. I get to experience the industry through that lens, and how uncertain it is, and how that can eat people up and make them
Mm,
question themselves
yeah.
rather than actually understand how the industry works, and how it's never personal as
Yeah.
long as you work and staying in alignment with your why and with your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you about like some of the challenges that you've faced, whether that's on your own journey or just, an approach of like mentorship and guiding others towards their dreams. How did you overcome those? Some of the
Gosh, yeah, I mean, so many challenges. Before I transitioned to agent and mentor several years ago, I worked as an actor on and off, and um, but I've always been that chameleon shapeshifter. I was DJing, I was
That's
coaching women,
amazing.
doing all these different things, and I loved it. Acting, storytelling is my true passion, but I got to experience the industry from a very rare lens. An ex-partner who's a very dear friend works in the industry at a top level, and he's been a mentor in that sense. And I got to see the beauty of the industry, but ultimately I got to see how crazy it is, how corrupt it can be, and how yeah, I mean, it weirdly did not put me off. It
Mm,
actually made me go, okay, this is a business. It's a business, and that's what people forget. So the challenge for me was understanding that and transmuting my own shadow as well when things didn't go my way in the acting world. I guess this is why I enjoy coaching and mentoring so much, because even when I was in that world, doing it myself and working on and off, and then seeing how difficult it can be, and how money oriented and how name oriented, and it's very non-linear. I could not help myself but like guide others. So I'd be in auditions or afterwards, and I'd befriend people and give them all this advice, and I wouldn't follow it myself. And it's not self-sabotage, as in I wouldn't go and do all the things I was telling them to do, because ultimately that come back to what I feel is my purpose and quest as a mentor, agent,
yeah.
guide. But the challenges were really aligning with my truth and speaking and living my truth. Um, talking about vulnerability, my challenge was being vulnerable. And
Mm.
that's been real, something I work on continually. Um, Back to the acting class with archetypes, the wonderful teacher who I felt really seen by, called David, he was like, Jenna, you are very reluctant to show your shadow side, because we had to sit in front of the class and evidence the shadow aspect of each archetype
Mm.
life
Interesting.
experience. And I think I was reluctant because I have this kind of artist rose-tinted lenses, create a pretty picture, which ultimately was me not being vulnerable. Fear, fear of being seen, although you're kind
Wow.
of at the same time paradoxically wanting to be seen. Uh,
Yes.
so that was a while back. So the journey I've been on through my own experiences in both film self-development, doing the work myself, becoming more vulnerable was a challenge, but yeah, it opens so much.
That's
Um,
amazing.
in work, in relationships, oh my Lord. And I say to my actors, I work with them to discover their secret sauce, but
Mhm.
actually, collectively, vulnerability is the secret sauce.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
And yeah,
I love that secret sauce. I just love that. Just the go to free, like it's just great. It's awesome. So I have a fun question. I
yeah.
love asking every guest. There's no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Money, love, and respect, right?
Money, power, and
Oh,
respect.
ooh, okay. So respect.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think money can give people power.
Mm,
And we know money doesn't make people happy. I think it enhances your natural state
yeah.
and it gives people freedom and peace of mind. But money, definitely not. That would be number three.
Yeah.
But power, I think everybody kind of enjoys power. But what is power? And I think respect. I think respect. And that doesn't come from a place of me saying it's seeking validation. I think respect for your work, respect for who you are as a human being. And I think my instant response to that was respect from others, but actually it's about respecting yourself,
Mm, hmm.
your own journey. And that again, that comes back to self-love. So yeah, respect,
I
I
love
think.
that. That's beautiful. I mean, absolutely. I think self-love is so important. And you get you hear society say when you start to choose you, and like I remember so many songs, like even Kendrick Lamar on his last album, he said, I choose me, I'm sorry. You have to choose you at the end of the day, because that's the if you don't love yourself, then how could you say you're going to be able to love someone else if you don't see that within you? Because we're the first person, like we should, like, you know what I mean? That's important. And it is a journey, but people would say it's selfish, and I'm like, no, I don't think
Yeah.
it's selfish.
It gets a bad rap these days because there's so much out there, but it's actually the key ingredient to everything in your life. And I think it comes back to the quote, Marianne Williamson, wonderful quote, one of my favorites. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure. And I think that is a real, that's a real self-love quote. It's believing in your potential, in your truth, in your power,
Mm,
and stepping fully into that. And that comes back to self-love, but
yeah,
actually doing the self-love. I'm on the
yes.
self-love journey is such um, a beautiful trajectory, and it starts with you, like you said. Absolutely.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to new like actors, to help them build confidence and find their authentic voice in this really competitive industry that we're in?
I think first and foremost, know your why. Like I said earlier, I think that's
Yes.
really, really key. It's so easy to get lost on this journey when you don't really have any direction. And although I talk about having been, in surrender and trusting the process, knowing your why, discovering that, deep diving into that, and that being strong will allow you to take the next step, which is then get to class, go to class, train, 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 um, stage and screen, never stop learning. The best actors, the true artists are the ones that never stop going to class and are doing the self work, the self development work. Um, and surround yourself with as many artists as possible.
Yes.
And create almost kind of a fluid business plan. As in, to me, this is what I mean about the missing ingredients being mindset, do the work, and the business acumen. Know your industry inside out.
Yes.
To me, people say network. Network to me is kind of just developing true rapport with people in the industry, the relationships, letting them flourish naturally and knowing who your gatekeepers are. So go on to IMDb Pro and deep dive into what's in pre-production if you want to work in film, I mean, in TV, and developing rapport with these people in an authentic, truthful, and business-like way.
Yeah.
I know from the casting side, they're inundated with thousands, and it's you need to stand out in an ocean of actors. So have that business mindset, have your goals, and hone your niche, hone your secret sauce. That's a lot, but that's
I
kind of
love that.
hone your secret sauce and develop, yeah, allow that to translate into your work.
That's awesome. The Leading Lady collection, right, is all about empowering others to step into leading role of their lives. What does it mean to be the leading lady of your own story, and how does one start um, that journey?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is so close to my heart. So play on words, of course, leading lady. It's a lot of what we've kind of covered about. It starts with self-love. It
Yeah,
starts with pulling back into yourself and meeting yourself.
yeah,
And that takes doing the work, the facing your shadow, um, decluttering everything in your life that doesn't represent that leading role in your life, because women especially play so many roles in their own lives, and
so many.
sometimes forget about the main character in the story and give to others to the point of depletion. So it starts with you, it starts with choosing yourself, pouring into yourself, and really believing in yourself. And that's easier said than done. But again, it's peeling back the layers. It's not to step into a new version of yourself. It's to step into your true self. And that takes taking to be vulnerable with yourself, and also living each and every day as the most magnetic version. And people would say, I can't right now. I haven't got the time for that. Or you might be going through a really tough time. So it's starting small, and
Yeah.
it's building upon that. So to me, the setting the tone of the day is the way forward. The morning that from the moment you wake up, your morning ritual really sets the tone
Yeah.
of the day of the leading lady. And I see this work. I see it work with my clients. They implement changes, small changes into their day, and they build upon that. And that compound effect will rewire you, will lighten you. And I love watching the transformation take place when people implement these changes into their life. But it comes back to something you and I touched on about like wanting to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually wanting to make the change, which
wanting to
is
change.
then, oh yeah, be the change. And I really want to. Sometimes it takes an earth-shattering experience in your life or a real awakening to actually go, okay, let's
Like
do
your
this.
rock
Not
bottom.
always rock bottom, yeah, because unfortunately that does sometimes, that is for the most part, but other people are just ready for a shift. It can be something it could be the breakdown of a relationship or the loss of a job, or just it could just be a moment of truth where you're like, okay, no more, no more playing small, no more hiding, or just time to change. But you have to want to actually really do it, because talking is cheap, and it's taking that action.
Absolutely.
And that first step is the most difficult step. And it's like start, just leap into the unknown and fall in love with the unknown, and the rest will follow.
Oh,
Um,
yes. It's so
so
true. I'm literally
yeah,
in that moment for myself right now, just like, you know, being okay, because people are going to say, there are going to be people that say, well, who do you think you are? You changed. Well, yeah, I hope so. We should always be changing, right?
um, then that's a decluttering, that's a scattering, and that's the tough part, because it's so easy to stay in the discomfort, right? This is why,
Mm,
back to the quote of where our deepest fear is not inadequacy, it's power beyond measure, because to actually make that change could shift so many things. People
oh,
will drop from your life. Um,
yep.
there's a responsibility there, but it's absolutely like, it's to me, it's worth the risk, because it's your birthright to be that most authentic magnetic version. And it's scary when you start to see life through the lens of truth, when your real friends drop, who you perceive as your real friends are no longer there. So
Ah,
rather than stay in the discomfort, you have to take that leap. Um, for yourself,
absolutely.
owe it to yourself, because I think it's what's the alternative? To suppress your potential, you
Right.
know? Yeah, and I think that's when you know, again, that the scattering of anything that doesn't represent that golden version of you has to go. It has to. And that starts with you. You know, it's about being honest and vulnerable and truthful with what you're doing in your everyday life that you know is not good for you, that you know doesn't serve the higher purpose. So you have to, you know, brush it away with a golden light
That's right.
and and meet yourself. And the brutality of what you may lose en route to that is something that you have to accept. But ultimately, it's leading you to a better version. So
Wow.
stay on that frequency.
Love that. I love that. Oh, I can talk to you all day. You have to come back. You have to come back. Definitely. Um, where can people find you on social media to follow everything you have going on?
Instagram underscore Jenna Manning, LinkedIn, new platform that I've just started to work on. And yeah, my website is jennamanning.com. I represent actors in film and TV in London and Madrid, and I work as a mentor for actors and entrepreneurs as well, which is the biggest part of my heart, which I love.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you so much. I could talk to you all day.
it. Same,
Dive
same.
into so many areas. I'm so grateful, Meosha, for your energy. You're absolutely incredible. Thank you so
Ah,
much.
same ditto. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.